Okay, so we will move on to the next part of the program, which is our San Antonians. I'll bring up Jesse Harasta. Is Sam here? Oh, there's Sam. Hi, Sam. Peter, where are you? Just them. Okay. All right. So Jesse Harasta is co-chair of San Antonians for Rail Transit. Dr. Jesse Harasta is an anthropologist, educator, and co-founder of San Antonians for Rail Transit. He directs the Center for Service Learning and Volunteerism at Our Lady of the Lake University and brings decades of community organizing and political engagement to his advocacy. And Sam Haas is a certified urban planner specializing in land use, sustainability, and community engagement. And as SART co-chair, he has driven statewide advocacy, legislative initiatives, and public forums to advance rail and sustainable mobility across Texas. And he's also a great lunch companion, I will say. So please help me welcome Jesse and Sam. Big green button.
Here we go. You're first. Thank you all for having us. There we go. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. So let me just see if I can get this working here. Did you do it?
Just the green button.
I'm pressing it. Well, I can just wing it. There we go. Did it work? All right. Well, that's us. Let me try it again. There we go. Awesome. Okay. So this presentation is really going to be in two parts. I'm going to sort of trace SART's history, kind of the activities that we've done so far. And then I'm going to hand the baton off to Jesse, who's going to kind of detail some of our, a little bit more, one of our specific projects and visions. So getting started, SART really started as an informal organization. There was a Facebook group that was started by Jesse Harasta and Robert Moreno, who was our old co-chair. This happened in June of 22. The reason for this was because earlier passenger rail efforts in the city specifically had failed pretty abysmally, honestly. And that was in 2000 and 2014. And part of that was because there was a well-funded and organized opposition to passenger rail, and there really wasn't a counterbalance to that at all. There was nothing really advocating for passenger rail. So Jesse and Robert identified correctly, I would assume that that this effort needed to be a grassroots effort and come from the people of San Antonio, and not from a top-down effort. I see there's going to have an issue here. Anyway, moving on. Hopefully we can get this working. Could be a... Well, yeah, can you just go to the next slide, please? Go. Oh, can we go back one slide now? Thank you. All right, so our first meeting was at the Texas Transportation Museum. That was in December of 2022. Shout out to them for hosting us. We just happen to have the good fortune of having somebody from the press there. That was from the San Antonio Report. And this is where actually I discovered this group, was reading that article. And so we got some exposure there, and I think that really helped up some numbers for us. In March of 23, we incorporated officially. We incorporated as a 501c4. That was because we specifically wanted to advocate for passenger rail. We wanted to, unfortunately for our members, their donations are not tax-free, but we actually get to sit down with politicians and specifically advocate for our passenger rail issues. We elected a 7-member board. That was the inaugural board that you see there. There's only 3 of us left. We've got new members, but the original 7 are no longer all together. We formed some committees to help delegate some duties in the organization. Some of the tools that we used, and then we still use today, we use social media with Slack, which is a kind of a cooperating platform where you can do a lot of work and share documents and things like that. Our members have access to that, and they can talk directly to the board through that app. We use Squarespace for our website. We have Action Network to disseminate our email campaigns. And then we also have Patreon, and this is how our membership pays their dues. So in the ensuing months, we really kind of wanted to steer the conversation into, bring awareness to this issue. So we released some op-eds, we wrote some reports, we promoted those reports. We rebranded from our original logo into that new snazzy logo there. That was done through a competition. Our membership did a big competition. We had a lot of different submittals, and we all voted on which one we liked the best, and that's the one we decided on. We're also, have a bigger presence in the community. We're always trying to be at events, so we do a lot of tabling. We do regular meetings. We have social meetings where it's very informal. We don't always talk about train stuff, although the conversation always tends to go that way. But that's where we just meet at a bar or a brewery or something. We just kind of get together and just have a little sense of community. Then we have general meetings as well. And we alternate months on those where we have official business and we vote on things. So moving forward into 2024, we really started doing a lot of coalition building. We found some local organizations like Activate ASA and Bike San Antonio and Strongtown San Antonio. We started meeting with them regularly, what we call our urban roundtable, where we kind of look at things that are going on in the city and see how we can put our thumb on the scale in terms of better development patterns, better transportation advocacy, things like that. We also even had a project with UTSA in the architecture school where the students helped design what they proposed to be a new train station for the city of San Antonio. So that was a lot of fun. We were the client, if you will. So we also moved into state level advocacy. You'll see down at the bottom the picture there. That's Anthony, one of our board members there at the very forefront. That was a group of local officials that was organized by local officials here to ride the Texas Eagle from San Antonio to Austin to kind of highlight the opportunities for improvement in the service. We also joined the Texas Streets Coalition. And this is a statewide advocacy coalition that specifically focuses on transportation issues. And through our own efforts and through the Texas Streets Coalition, we got to sit down with all these representatives here, both from the House and the Senate in Texas. It was really awesome getting to sit down with these guys and talk to them oftentimes multiple times. So SART actually got some bills drafted this year through the Texas Streets Coalition. These bills were primarily focused on funding, which is a really a big hurdle for passenger rail in this state is funding. I'm sure that's true. It's probably ubiquitous everywhere. But that's where our focus was on this session, was getting funded. Unfortunately, we didn't get any of these filed. There's about 9,000 bills drafted this year in the 89th legislative session. Only about 1,000 of those actually got filed, so like a 10% or 12% filing rate. So unfortunately, we didn't get our stuff filed, but we got our foot in the door. We built some political capital. We built some relationships. We got to meet some people. We definitely learned some lessons too about how to tailor our message depending on who we're sitting across. So, when the 90th session rolls around, we're going to be a little more prepared, a little more experienced to advocate for us. Moving forward, what are we kind of working on now? So as you may or may not be, is making a push for a sports and entertainment district. There is a sort of a question mark about infrastructure and how that's going to be disseminated in that funding. And so we're going to try to push for some passenger rail stuff because our beautiful station is right down there in the scope of this sports and entertainment district. So we're going to be, Jesse will probably touch on it a little bit more, but some things that we could do is like, bike lockers and things like that. Really nominal, improvements to the station for just peanuts for what the funding of this total project is going to be. So we're going to be sitting down with people and trying to push for those efforts too. Another thing that we're looking for is we're always trying to improve the Texas Eagle service. Jesse's a little bit more detail, but in March 24, one of our members, Jack Lloyd Riley of the research committee, he identified some of the improvements that we could be making. And in February of 25, the TxDOT actually identified the same improvements. Thanks. The exact same improvements that one of our members identified, TxDOT also identified on Chapter 3, page 19 of their rail plan. So two organizations coming to the same conclusion. We're definitely going to try to facilitate, coordinate, do whatever we do to get these improvements into a reality. And so moving forward, Jesse's going to talk. I'm going to pass the baton on to Jesse about long-term.
Thanks, Sam. Little away. Is this good? Okay. If it doesn't work, then I'll try shouting. Thanks for having us, folks. It's so good to see all of you people here and talking about rail. So my part of this little local presentation is going to be to talk about some of our signature plans, the things that we're pushing for. How does rail fit our planning, thinking about the future of our city? And that does dovetail on the tops. Could you actually jump back, Joe? I think 2 slides. One, there we go. So I don't want to brush too much over this because it's actually crucial to what I'm going to talk about in a second. One of our proposals is creation of turnouts in our downtown region. So look at this map here. This is downtown. We're actually west of that line there right now. And currently, as you probably may be aware, the Texas Eagle has to back into San Antonio, which adds about 15 minutes just in and of itself onto each round trip, right? We have a number of other problems infrastructurally with the slowing down of the Texas Eagle coming into here, but we've identified up there, if you look at that red line, there's a curve, right? That's there. That curve is on our map. It's a line, but it doesn't exist currently. It previously existed. The right of way is there. The land is owned by Union Pacific. There was a train line there, but it's one of the many they ripped out around the country. Our argument is that we can 2,000 feet of rail onto currently existing tracks, 2,000 feet connecting 2 lines, and shave off, what is a half an hour round trip on the Texas Eagle. Our argument is that this is the lowest hanging fruit for improving speeds in anywhere in the United States, right? Imagine if the Northeast Corridor, how much you would pay to get 30 minutes off of that, right? $1 billion, probably. We're talking about 2,000 feet of rail. Can we advance 2 slides forward, Joe? Thanks. Okay, so I want to talk about a report that we put together. This was co-written by myself and Jack Lloyd Riley on our research team, and this is our staged approach, which is our plan for regional rail to Austin. And we have here the QR code where you can get the report. Have it at the end of this slideshow. If you could advance, please. So I'm going to quickly talk about what motivated this report, the 3 stages that we propose, our concept of minimal viable service, and why we view Amtrak as a preferred operator of this service. So there's been a lot of locally about rail to Austin, or if you're in Austin, rail to San Antonio. And we had which, if you're not familiar with Texas system, what would be called a county, basically the other 49 states is a county judge here. So they are local government executives at the county level. So our county judges, Travis, which is Austin, and Bear, which is us, counties formed a rail advisory committee to try debates between our 2 cities. We recognize challenging to this, and that is that there have been multiple failures in the past. These failures, we need to learn from them. We need to grow from them. We need to not repeat them. In addition, there's a huge transportation project up in Austin called Project Connect. It has one of those projects that's increased in cost significantly over the years. As a political football is massively debated at our state legislature. We don't want to repeat the mistakes, or not mistakes, but the challenges. We know that trying to propose another multi-billion-dollar project in the same region is going to cause huge backlash at the state level. So we wanted to think about how can we do this differently, right? How do we move quickly to get infrastructure money while it's still available? How do we build a plan that gets something for Texas? something for our region rather than trying again to get for the perfect system and failing, right? And so, oh, sorry, can you go back one? We wanted a plan for rail to Austin that is able to be quickly implemented, cost effective, able to meet current transportation need, and prepared for future growth. And so we proposed 3 stages. Our first stage is the one that we view ourselves in now, which is what can we do entirely locally with local dollars, right? How can we improve our Amtrak station, which we are fond of, but we do call it the Amshack. Some of you may have visited. It did not grow with our city. It does not meet our current city's needs, and it's certainly not going to meet the needs of our city in the future. It's just not big enough. It's just not enough. And so we are calling for, as a first step, the improvement of the physical infrastructure of our local station and things like those turnouts there that I just mentioned. Our station, the stage number 2, is something we call the minimum viable service. And the minimum viable service is based off a concept of minimum viable product that we're borrowing from software design, which is you roll out a bare minimum of your app or your program, and then you work with users to improve it to the functionality that they need and want. But you can do so in a cost-effective way. And so we are talking about how can we, what is the minimum that would work for our city? Multiple daily trips between the 2 cities at comparable speeds to driving at minimal cost with a single train set is what we're arguing for. And then stage 3 would be expanding and bulking out that minimum service to what we call regular service, which is what we actually need and deserve, which is local and express trains, suburban stations, and so on. So things we can do now: better rail bus connections, better wayfinding, better parking. There's actually no parking at our train station. Not a single spot. Stuff like food trucks and public art, better research and planning, all these things that can be done now, today, with local money that we've identified, and we've identified places where that money can be found. Then the minimum viable service, which we define as the lowest investment that will consistently fill trains and demonstrate value to community and taxpayers. We are talking about more than 1 train per day, so we can travel from each of the 2 cities to the other city and back in the same day. That's what we view as minimum, right? We deserve more, but that's what we're aiming for first. Provide times that are competitive with driving. That means infrastructure improvements to the tracks. And then the local service within the communities. And this is something that's really distinctive, I think, to our system. Here's the map that we propose. We do not propose a downtown to downtown connection. We propose 3 stations within each of the 2 cities. The idea being that this would essentially, in the city of San Antonio in particular, here's where the stations we're looking at, would form what we might call a rudimentary one-line metro system within the city, that you'd be able to move within San Antonio by train from the outer southwest or the northeast into downtown or vice versa, and that this could also serve the local needs for our folks, that we don't have to deal with the intense parking demands of our downtown area, that we can use already existing infrastructure. And this is important. These 2 stations that we identify currently existing park and rides for our VIA local bus system. So they're already owned by VIA. They already have parking lots. They just need tracks. Sorry, not tracks. They're right next to the tracks. They need to add platforms, right? We're talking about pouring concrete for 2 platforms in our basic plan and some shade structures. With that, we could have 2 stations, a station in the southwest and a station in the northeast. And so we can move within our city. We've developed a basic, could we use 1 train set with backups, with lack of a locomotive, backup passenger car, and run back and forth. This is based off of stuff that we're looking at of Utah and the Rail Runner in Albuquerque, Santa Fe. We're looking at the same types of equipment for this. I know they have more train sets than that, but we're starting with the same types of equipment. And then the train would not just run back and forth between the 2 cities, but also have little strips within the cities, so that it gains extra functionality for people to move within the cities. So we have back and forth, and then within the city, back and forth within the city, right? In order to maximize the benefit for our local, demonstrate the effectiveness of rail as a form of local transportation. We do view the MVS not merely as a proof of concept. This is all we were to get. It would be a heck of a lot better than what we've got. And so for us, this is a viable system that we would then want to build on. And yes, the trains, this is the system we're looking at: 4 bi-level passenger cars, 2 locomotives. We're looking at 400 to 500 seats and about 800 standing passengers, right? Minimum viable service is not possible if we do not improve train times between the two cities. This also, of course, would improve Amtrak. Same framework, same infrastructure. We'd be looking at the national system improving along with our local system, hand in hand. Can you advance, please? And then we would then expand that system out to what we would call a full system. And we would have multiple ways of doing that built into the plan. And so we might, for example, have, can you click one more, please, Joe? We could do things like add additional cars to the basic system. So we're expanding the capacity of the train as it moves. We're talking about extra train sets, additional daily round trips, adding infill stations, suburban stations, and step-by-step improvement of the central station. The idea being that where the demand and the money is, we would be able to move with wherever to expand the system, to improve the system, to the needs of our folks, and take advantage of opportunities as they emerge for funding and support. We do call for, we have openly endorsed that we would want this to be locally planned, but operated ideally by Amtrak. We think that Amtrak, with its depth of experience and knowledge, with its local connections, with its already existing infrastructure, with the types of economies of scale for things like maintenance and training that Amtrak is able to provide, that Amtrak would be an ideal operator. Dedicated federal funding, a standing relationship with Union Pacific, who owns all the tracks around here, right? And then it's Amtrak's unique legal positions, and this we believe would make Amtrak really the only entity that would be able to deliver this in a timely manner for us. So we've been advocating for this to be a system similar to the way they do it up in Maine or in the Cascades, right? Local planning and but Amtrak providing the actual daily service. Yeah, thanks so much for having us. And that's, you can get our report there. So I don't know how I am for time. If we have time for questions now.
Let's see if this works. All right, so I think we have time for probably just 2 or 3 questions if we could. Would anyone like to? Andrew, I'm going to have to find my way over to you.
I didn't get a chance to say hi to you earlier, but we stay busy at these things. I just wanted to ask how involved is VIA in your planning? I mean, I know you guys have a number of comments about Amtrak. I was at the Randolph Park and Ride the other day, which, I mean, you ought to take a look at it. They're doing impressive work on it, and the Google Maps aerial image is out of date. And to see a transit facility that when you look at it from the aerial view, you say, wow, that's pretty big. And then you see the one they're building and it's like, whoa, that thing's going to be 3 times the size of that thing. I mean, for you guys is, Austin, Maine #2. If you look at UP, it's by the Days Inn on the other side of the highway. So, I mean, do you guys have an integrated plan with VIA at all to kind of bridge some of the spatial gaps between the expression, mind the gap between the train and the platform? I mean, you guys have that kind of last couple thousand feet collaboratively with VIA figured out?
So we have a plan for that particular last couple of feet, because there is a barrier, right, between the actual track and the currently existing park and ride. We have a couple of plans. We have worked with VIA. We've met with the VIA board. We've had events with VIA in coordination with VIA. We also are part of the coalition. City transit-oriented development, we were involved in that coalition. As far as the details of the level of planning that you're referring to, no, we are not at that position yet. We are more at the bringing our electeds on board and getting this at the MPO levels and that type of thing, rather than at VIA, as far as that fine grain detail that you're talking about.
Yeah, or cooperation, as the landlord for Amtrak in that station too. So anything that we want to do to that to be involved. So we look forward to that.
Hi, Chris Nadelbeck. Just a quick question. Did I see that you in your initial planning, we're not going to stop at like intermediate cities along the way, like New Braunfels and San Marcos? And is that a deliberate choice, or what do you think the political ramifications of just going by there without stopping will be?
Yeah, sure. Yes. Yes. We skip all the cities between San Antonio and Austin. There's a couple of reasons for that. We do plan on a station on eventually infilling stations, right? Those cities do need service. But that being said, the northeastern or southwestern quadrants of San Antonio have more people living in them than all of the in-between cities combined, right? We are interested in serving the needs of the maximum number of people to create an effective system. And so, yes, we decided that for the purposes of we have to pick and choose. And we chose the density of our urban centers over the infill cities, or the in-between cities, the suburban cities. That being said, our plans are flexible. And so if New Braunfels comes up with a whole bunch of money and says we want a station, then this is how the plan is designed, is to be able to react to the emergence of possibilities, right? But as our plan stands, yes, it skips the in-between cities.
Paul, you're going to be the last one.
Yeah, Paul Shore, Needham, Massachusetts. I was wondering if the 2,000 feet of track are added, would that track be owned by Union Pacific? And if it would be, would the city compensate Union Pacific for the increased property tax bill on those rails?
Yes, everything here is when it comes to trains. Union Pacific owns all of the trackage in San Antonio, and they own the land that we are proposing this to be built on. As far as the details of the city's recompense to Union Pacific, they would need to work that out. We haven't debated that particular issue. I don't think we would be opposed to such things if it made it happen, right? But you know, it hasn't come up in our discussions yet.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you so much, both of you.